Throughout history, wars have shaped the fate of empires, redefined borders, altered the course of civilizations, and left indelible scars on humanity. But among the countless conflicts, a few stand out, not just for their scale, but for their unparalleled destruction and the sheer loss of life they inflicted on the world. Today, we're counting down the 9 deadliest wars in human history. These wars didn't just change maps, they claimed tens of millions of lives and left nations in ruins. These weren't just battles. They were cataclysms, events that brought nations to their knees and cost tens of millions of lives. Some you've heard of, others might surprise you. Stay tuned till the end, because the deadliest war of all time killed nearly 10% of the world's population and is still shaping our world today. Number 9. The American Civil War, 1861 to 1865. Estimated deaths, 620,000 to 750,000. The American Civil War remains the deadliest conflict in U.S. history. Fought between the Union, aka the North, and the Confederacy, aka the South, it was sparked primarily by issues of slavery and states' rights. While most wars of the time saw soldiers die in battle, a staggering number of Civil War deaths came from disease, poor medical care, and starvation. The war saw brutal engagements like Gettysburg and Antietam and introduced trench warfare and industrialized killing to the American continent. It ended with a Union victory and the abolition of slavery, but the scars of the war would last for generations. Number 8. The Second Congo War, 1998 to 2003. Estimated deaths, 5.4 million. Nicknamed Africa's World War, the Second Congo War involved 9 African nations and more than 25 armed groups. The conflict was fueled by ethnic tensions, control of natural resources, and political instability following the Rwandan genocide. Most of the deaths came not from direct combat, but from disease, hunger, and the collapse of health infrastructure. Entire communities were displaced. Child soldiers, mass rapes, and war crimes were widespread. Though a peace agreement was signed in 2003, violence in the region has persisted, making it one of the most tragic and underreported conflicts in modern history. Number 7. The Napoleonic Wars, 1803 to 1815. Estimated deaths, 3.5 to 6 million. Let's go to the early 19th century. The world had never seen a single man dominate Europe like Napoleon Bonaparte did. What started as a revolution in France turned into an empire, and then a continent-wide war. These wars pitted Napoleon Bonaparte's French Empire against a rotating cast of European coalitions. The Napoleonic Wars involved nearly every major power in Europe. France fought coalitions made up of Britain, Russia, Austria, Prussia, and more. These weren't just battlefield skirmishes. Entire populations were swept into the chaos. The wars were marked by massive battles, such as Austerlitz and Leipzig, and the disastrous French invasion of Russia. Beyond the battlefield, famine, disease, and scorched earth policies devastated civilian populations. From the blood-soaked fields of Waterloo to the icy disasters of the Russian invasion, millions died in combat, starvation, or disease. The wars ended with Napoleon's defeat in 1815, but not before Europe was drenched in blood. Millions had perished, and the continent was forever changed. Number 6. The Russian Civil War, 1917 to 1923. Estimated deaths, 7 to 12 million. Next up, the fall of a dynasty and the rise of a superpower. The Russian Civil War erupted after the Russian Revolution of 1917. It pitted the Bolshevik Reds against the anti-communist Whites, a loose alliance of monarchists, capitalists, and others opposed to communism. But it wasn't just a two-sided fight. The chaos, famine, and brutal purges led to mass civilian suffering. Foreign powers, including the UK, the US, and Japan, intervened along with nationalist movements, anarchists, and peasants. They all had stakes in the fight. This brutal war saw entire cities destroyed, mass famine, and one of the most catastrophic humanitarian crises of the 20th century. Millions didn't die in battle, but of starvation, disease, and ethnic violence. The Bolsheviks ultimately emerged victorious, laying the foundation for the Soviet Union, but at the cost of millions of lives and widespread destruction. Number 5. The First World War, 1914 to 1918. Estimated deaths, 15 to 20 million. The Great War was triggered by the assassination of Archduke Franz Ferdinand and soon involved all major world powers. With trench warfare, poison gas, and machine guns, it couldn't become the war to end all wars. But it did introduce the world to industrialized slaughter. The First World War was unlike anything before it. Battles like the Somme and Verdun became synonymous with pointless carnage. The war redrew maps and toppled empires like Austria-Hungary, the Ottoman Empire, and Tsarist Russia. 4 years of trench warfare, gas attacks, and mechanical destruction turned the fields of Europe into vast graveyards. Entire generations of men were wiped out. Nations collapsed. And by the end, over 20 million people were dead, soldiers and civilians alike. The Treaty of Versailles in 1919 ended the war but sowed the seeds of even greater conflict to come. But we'll get there soon. And that brings us to the end of Part 1 of the deadliest wars in human history. Each of these conflicts left a permanent mark on the world. But believe it or not, the bloodshed we've covered so far is just the beginning. In Part 2, we'll uncover even more devastating wars, some so massive, they reshaped the global order as we know it. You won't want to miss it. So hit that like button, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you're the first to know when Part 2 drops. Let us know in the comments. Which of these wars shocked you the most? Or is there one you think we should include in the next episode? See you in Part 2.